A few months ago, a teen male, was going to the store and my brother, a teen, told me that he wanted to ride. When we got in the car, my brother asked me if he could drive us to the store. I at first told him no because I was already in the driver's seat, but then he kept begging and I was like, all right. The store was literally 3 minutes away by car, so I didn't think it would be a problem since my brother was already trying to get his permit, so we switched seats. We did not make it to the store that day. My brother put the car in reverse instead of driving forward and reversed the car into a damn tree. He didn't even go slow either. He caused my car to have a broken tail light, a lot of scratches and 2 big damn dents. My dad was angry, grounded us and took our phones away, which I felt was unfair. We had to ride the bus to and from school until I could get my car back. A little over a month ago, I finally got my car back and my phone, and I was happy until my dad told me that I would have to get a job because I needed to pay him back the money he lost. I was understanding at first and asked him if my brother would need to get a job too, but he told me no since it was my car and told me that I shouldn't have let him drive without a permit in the first place. I felt like this was unfair and told my dad that, but he told me that it wasn't unfair and that I should take responsibility for my actions. I told my dad that I felt like I was getting punished for my brother's mistake and I didn't like that. He told me that it wasn't a punishment and it was to teach me responsibility. My dad told me that he understood how it might look unfair, but I had to take responsibility for my actions. He said it was my responsibility as the car's owner since I allowed him to drive it. I told my dad I only agreed to let him drive it because he was already going to class to get his permit and the store wasn't far away. My dad told me that that was my mistake and I had to own it. I've been working for 3 weeks now and I hate it. I work Fridays to Sundays, and on Friday of last week I was driving my brother and me home from school and he looked at me with a smirk and told me that he hoped I would have fun at work today. I ignored him and then he said it again, so I pulled over and told him to get out. He refused and I told him we would sit there until he did. After about 10 minutes of sitting, he finally got out and I drove home to get ready for work. After I returned home from work, my dad had already made it and was mad at me. He told me that my brother told him that I'd left him on the side of the road and told me it was dangerous. I told my dad I didn't care and didn't want him riding with me anymore. My dad got upset when I said that and told me that it was irresponsible of me to let my brother walk home alone. He told me that he'd take my phone away if I didn't apologize. I was forced to apologize to him. My dad then told me that I wasn't allowed to leave my brother stranded again, and I told him that he wouldn't have to worry as I would just ride the bus home. My dad asked me if I was seriously going to ride the bus to avoid having to drive my brother, and I told him that I was. I don't think my dad thought I was serious because this morning I decided to ride the bus to school, so my brother was forced to ride the bus as well. I didn't think much of it since I'd already told him I wouldn't be using my car to ride to school anymore, but my dad sent me a text telling me we would talk when he got home from work. I don't think I did anything wrong and I'm confused. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your brother is acting like an idiot, and your dad is apparently okay with it since your brother has received 0 repercussions for his own behavior. You found the loophole you needed to get out of driving him around. Good for you. If I were your parent, I wouldn't make you drive your brother around until he learned how to act like a decent human being. Tell your dad you're tired of your smirking idiot brother lording this over you. Where is your brother's responsibility for knowing he wasn't licensed to drive and for having the accident? Why aren't you both being held responsible in some role-appropriate way? Why does he get to skip away entirely as if he had no part of this at all? Kid, your dad is making you pay for the damage because you're the owner of the car. Then, as the owner of the car, you get to decide who gets a ride from you. Update: am I the idiot for refusing to drive my car just to avoid riding with my brother? To sum it up, my dad gave me an ultimatum and I'm sure he hates me. So basically, when my dad came home, he came straight to my room so we could talk. He told me he's disappointed by how I'm handling things and that he only wants what's best for me. I told my dad that what he was doing was not for the best because I was taking all the responsibility and my brother was still not held accountable for anything. My dad told me that he understood my frustration, but my brother shouldn't have been allowed to drive in the first place and that was my wrongdoing. He then said he'll talk to my brother and get him to stop rubbing that I have work in my face. He then said that he was sorry that my brother was getting under my skin, but I shouldn't have left him on the side of the road as that was dangerous and irresponsible of me. He told me that he expected better from me. My dad then said he expects me to start using the car to drive to school again because he didn't buy it for anything. He then told me that he also expects me to allow my brother to ride with me because he doesn't want him riding the bus alone. He said that if I have any more problems with him, I should let him know rather than leave him on the side of the road. I told my dad that I didn't want my brother to ride with me, as driving my brother around wasn't going to be beneficial to either of us because he would distract me. I don't want to be in another accident. My dad then asked me why I felt like my brother would distract me, and I told him that he angers me and that driving while angry is not safe. My dad told me that my anger is misplaced and that I have to own up to my mistakes. I told my dad that I owned up to it and that I'd just rather my brother owned up to it too. My dad told me that he would and shouldn't worry about it and just do as he says. I told my dad that I did not want to ride with my brother because it was unsafe. My dad then asked me if I felt like I couldn't control my anger when I was driving with my brother, and I told him no, thinking he'd be like, okay, he doesn't have to ride with you then. No, he told me that he understands and that instead of driving my brother home, I can drive myself to therapy after school since I can't control my emotions. I asked my dad if he was serious, and he told me that those two were my only options and to let him know what I pick by tomorrow morning so he'll be able to try and find an available therapist soon. What the heck? I tried to tell my dad that that was not a fair choice, but he told me that he just wanted me to be the bigger person and not act so immature like my brother because he didn't want to deal with two of him. I told my dad that I didn't want to deal with him either, but my dad told me I knew my options and I had until tomorrow morning to decide. I then told my dad that I was just playing, but he still said that those were my only options. After that, he literally just left and he's been in my brother's room the rest of the time. I really don't know, and if I'm being honest, I'm angry. I didn't think this was how it was going to go. Tell me you're not the favourite without telling me you're not the favourite. Your dad is an expert gaslighter. My God, LOL, he should be in the dictionary next to the word. Take the therapy. It will cost your dad more money, you won't have to drive your brother, and you're going to need it after having to live with that golden child. You're only a year older than your brother. Your dad is expecting too much out of you and too little out of your brother. What on God's green earth is that mind crap from dad? He's partially right. You made a bad initial decision in letting bro drive, true, but the penalties are way out of line. Baby bro is clearly the golden child. Dad will never see his flaws, and/or just doesn't want to listen to his whining. Sadly, my best advice is to keep your head down and move out as soon as you legally can, or you'll end up dragging daddy's golden fail son all the way through life. My girlfriend, 25, and I, 27 male, have been together for 2 years and have been living together. We also have no children. I'm currently working. However, my girlfriend just quit her job 3 months ago, and the people she worked with were toxic. Thankfully, I made enough to keep the lights on, but it's been hard with her not working, hard to buy food, and other needs when I'm throwing my entire check at bills. I've reminded her multiple times that it's time to look for a new job, and she says no good jobs are hiring at the moment. She says this every time. I've been frustrated recently because I have to work overtime because of this, so I sternly brought up to her that she needs to find a job because I can't keep working overtime just because she isn't working. It's hard to support her and myself like this. We went back and forth, and she said that I could take up a second job, that dealing with toxic people at her work was mentally draining her and she didn't want it to happen again. She said she wanted to be a stay-at-home girlfriend. I told her she was insane for saying that and that I would break up with her if she didn't find a job. She lost her crap and told me men are the ones to take care of their partner. We haven't spoken much since and she's very angry at me. I don't know if I was too harsh to say that to her. Excuse me, stay-at-home girlfriend? I've never heard of that before. Your girlfriend is delusional. You are not the idiot. I don't know how some people would want to be stay-at-home girlfriends. Once that relationship is over, you're screwed. No money saved, no career, nothing. Sadly, it's a new TikTok trend. No security for her whatsoever if he decides to end the relationship. It's a weird trend. OP, I would seriously reconsider this relationship. I cannot imagine causing stress to my partner and asking them to take on a second job while I'm contributing nothing. Make sure you don't get her pregnant. Frankly, I would stay away from that entirely. Wait, she actually told you to get a second job, but no one is hiring when she's looking? Yikes, she's not contributing to this relationship. In today's world, it is too costly for most couples to live on a single income. Your girlfriend is looking for an excuse to stay home and steal from you. It might be time to end it, as she will just take advantage and use you as an ATM machine. A few days ago, my ex-husband mistakenly transferred 2 payments of $8,700 and $9,275. He did this at around 7:40 a.m. and I didn't notice because I worked the night shift and was getting ready for bed. So my phone was charging on the nightstand. At the same time, my 4 children were with my parents, so I planned to sleep away half the day. He realized his mistake around 8:30 a.m. and by then I was dead asleep. I woke up at around 4 p.m. to at least 100 missed calls and maybe 150 texts asking and begging me to send him back the money. My initial thoughts were to send it back, but then I remembered he owed me $12,000 and hasn't paid me back since I lent it to him 4 years ago, and he's had a million excuses why he can't pay me back, and yet I always see him living it up. I kept the amount he owed me, returned only $5,975, and told him I had deducted his debt. Since then, I've had him call me every name in the book because this was apparently money he was saving to buy his girlfriend an engagement ring, the engagement venue, etc., so according to him, he had to tell her. This led to it ruining the surprise engagement he planned for the next weekend. His girlfriend has been bad-mouthing me, and it's caused a bit of a crap storm with me having to shut down my social media. Even his parents, who had a cordial relationship, have been impacted by it. I discussed the situation with a friend and colleague, and it was overheard by another colleague. He called what I made an idiot move, and I guess he shared it with a couple of other people, and now I'm not too sure anymore on whether I'm being an idiot or not. Is this an idiot move? Edit, the money was loaned to him after our divorce. We've been divorced for 7 years and I loaned him the money 4 years ago after he lost his job and fell behind on bills and rent. This has nothing to do with his child support payments, which he's also behind on, which are being handled by the family court and the child support company. There were texts of him asking for a loan and it included a repayment plan and time, but he never stuck to it. So there's a legal trail if he decides to involve the law. Still, I doubt he would because it would cost way more to sue me, and I would have won in court since I had only deducted his debt from me. Yes, he is the father of our 4 kids. I could have sued him for the debt, but hiring a lawyer would cost me way more. Suing someone isn't cheap. Lawyers cost real money and a lawsuit takes real time. He's owed you $12,000 for 4 years. His priorities should have been clearing his debt and saving for an engagement ring, especially when he clearly had the money. Also, surely he can find an engagement ring for $6,000. Not the idiot, you only kept what you were owed. Tell everyone who says that you're wrong that if he can afford a venue, he can afford to pay back his debt to the mother of his children. His new fiancée should be pleased to find out his true nature before the wedding. You did her a favour, letting her know that he won't repay his debts unless forced to do so. His bad luck on the mistake, but good for you and your kids. Good God, that's one thing I don't get. Making an engagement an event. It's like those idiotic gender reveal parties. This dude has no business dropping almost $18,000 on his girlfriend when he's not upholding his commitments to his former wife and children. This upcoming Mother's Day will be my wife's first time celebrating as a mom, so I understand she now takes precedence over my mom. I hope my family would understand that on their own, but I didn't have high expectations. Recently, my sister suggested plans for Mother's Day, and I explained that I would be unable to attend. My sisters immediately seemed annoyed, but my mom didn't say anything. I said we would do something another time, and my mom told me not to worry about it. I reiterated that the actual day is now for my wife. My mom said that was my decision, but she was busy, and we didn't need to do anything another day. She said she doesn't see the point in celebrating things on random days. Now I wonder if I'm an idiot because I got annoyed and called her a master manipulator. I said she should be wanting to help me make the day special for my wife, and now she's just making things harder. My mom got mad and said she has a life and doesn't owe me random days. At this point, her husband overheard and came down, blew up on me for calling her that, and told me to get out of his house. I texted her later that I was sorry for yelling and said I get change can be challenging, and if she's jealous of my wife, it's okay and just something to work through. My mom got mad and said I think everything revolves around my wife when in reality no one gives a crap about her except me, and to leave the family alone and let them celebrate Mother's Day as they always have. Why does your mom detest your wife? Could it be that you want everyone to dance in her presence? Oh, and learn to control your temper. Your mom wasn't being manipulative. You were angry that she didn't want to fawn all over your wife. You are the idiot. Why can't you be nice to both your mother and the mother of your children on the same day? Wow, OP, you blew this up way out of proportion. You're incredibly condescending. Mom accepted that you weren't celebrating Mother's Day with her. You're the one who accused her of being jealous and a manipulator. You are the problem. You are the idiot. Geez, way to go, nuclear. I'm going contrary to the popular opinion posted here. OP's behaviour aside, I think the concept of Mother's Day changes once the son is married and now a father himself. Until OP's kids are old enough to take on the chores of Mother's Day, it's up to OP, and his wife is his first obligation. Yes, he should see his mother, but a visit later with flowers fills the bill.